It's a question so many people have asked. Why is construction on Hardscrabble Road taking so long? The project is 6 years delayed, which means years of documents with explanations and excuses and finger pointing.
And I've gone through a lot of those documents. Some show there were major delays because of issues with utilities and also the City of Columbia's water lines. But I found that even though the project is years behind, the South Carolina Department of Transportation hasn't charged the contractor any fees for these delays.
A project to widen Hardscrabble Road that started in 2017 and was supposed to be complete 2 years later, still going on today. That 2019 end date, something many drivers don't even remember. When was this project originally supposed to be finished? What year?
I think it was supposed to be finished last year.
It's actually 2019.
It's sad.
Doesn't even look about like halfway.
DOT says they're 80% done.
That's a lie. I don't know much about the road, but that's a lie. I can look right now, and there's not 20% left.
DOT says they're going to be done with everything. Whole project done, spring 2025.
I would love to see it.
Do you think you'll see it?
No.
I will see it in 2030.
I don't believe them. I'll believe it when it's done.
What's also common with this group, they don't fully understand what's causing the holdup. So you feel like you haven't heard enough about what's happening?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No. Absolutely not. Like, I don't know anything about what's going on.
I went through years of construction schedules, change orders, and even internal documents to find out what is going on. This document is from the South Carolina Department of Transportation in 2017. It's a little more than a year after the project contract was awarded to Palmetto Corporation of Conway. Already, there are problems. They say City of Columbia water lines need to be moved. This adds 335 days to the project and about $7 million. Fast forward to 2020. Palmetto Corp says the Department of Transportation found City of Columbia Water was not prepared for the necessary utility relocations. The company later writes the City of Columbia's water line relocations were inaccurate and not performed to an acceptable standard. This, along with other utility issues, adds another 672 days to the project. I asked for an interview with the city's water department to ask what went wrong. That request denied. A statement on behalf of Assistant City Manager Clint Shealy said, quote, "In the interest of transparency and accuracy, we're happy to answer any questions you may have in written format." Shealy also wrote, Columbia Water does not have a contractual arrangement with the general contractor or subcontractors performing this work and therefore exerts no control over the project schedule. Do you think anyone or any agency is at fault in this situation?
Well, I definitely think there's enough blame to go around.
Hardscrabble Road runs through Representative Ivory Thigpen's district. Despite all of these delays, there have been no liquidated damages or, basically a late fee. Do you think that that is hurting the project, and do you think that takes out an incentive to get it done on time?
Yeah, I think, I think you have to penalize and incentivize. Money moves things. Money makes the world go around. And so if it's now becoming more costly for them not to finish than to finish, I do think that it will move the project along.
A spokesperson for SCDOT says they haven't enforced those penalties because many of the delays were outside of the contractor's control. But those fines are hefty. According to the contract between the company and SCDOT, the liquidated damages rate is $1,800 a day. Despite more than 1,000 days of delays, Palmetto Corp hasn't been fined once for being behind schedule. A spokesperson for DOT says penalties are typically addressed at the end of the project through a settlement process. I asked for an on-camera interview with SCDOT. They also declined my interview request.
I think our role is to do an analysis, to do an autopsy, to say what we did well, what we could have done differently.
Is that something, so an analysis or an audit of some sort, is that something you do plan to call for?
Yes, that is something I do plan to call for, and I think it's greatly needed. And reporting like yourself, I think that's what's going to help bring light to this this horror story that is Hardscrabble Road.
So again, SCDOT estimates spring 2025 as the new completion date. I asked the spokesperson multiple times for the document that will show what caused that most recent delay and how much money the delay is costing. I haven't gotten a response, but the documents you just saw in this story took weeks to get, despite the fact they're public record. So coming up on WIS News at 7, part 2 of this story, I'm going to show you the process of getting those documents and introduce you to a local man who took it upon himself to get answers for his community. We'll also take you to the State House as we look for solutions to show you the talk that our reporting is now causing there.
We found that penalties have never been charged in the Hardscrabble Road project, despite it being years behind schedule. But getting that information took a while, even though these are projects funded by your tax dollars.
The documents are public record, but they're not always easy to find. In South Carolina, it can be quite a process. In many cases, you can't just go online and get this information. So we looked for solutions when it comes to transparency. Now our reporting is causing talk at the State House about potential changes for the South Carolina Department of Transportation.
Many drive Hardscrabble Road every day. And many complain about the traffic and the 7 years of construction on Hardscrabble Road. Jay Shuping did more than just complain.
After a couple of times going through that, I thought, you know, I need to see what's going on here.
For more than a year, Shuping has requested dozens of documents about the Hardscrabble Road project through the Freedom of Information Act. He's retired, but worked in construction for more than 35 years in a business administrative role.
I just felt like I was uniquely qualified at that time in my life and at that physical location that I was placed there. I just was going to a basketball game.
He sent all those documents to WIS and started a blog so anyone could see what he found.
I'm retired. I have time and I have a passion for helping people.
And you're getting emotional about it. So why do you feel that way? Because you put a lot of work into this.
I see people getting squashed by a big government agency, and they now have no recourse.
Over the past year, Shuping and WIS have requested documents detailing construction schedules, the reasons for delays, and internal messages.
As far as the process of getting documents, it's organized. It can be frustrating. You request something, and it takes them 10 to 14 days to tell you if you can even get it or not. And then it takes them maybe another 30 days to get it to you. So you're talking about 45 days to get a document.
That's public record.
Now, Tom Petty has a song about the waiting is the hardest part. That's kind of what it is with this.
Yeah, with the Freedom of Information Act.
It's free, but it doesn't mean it's drive-through service.
The Freedom of Information Act, also called FOIA, is what makes these records available to the public. It's also what makes council or school board meetings open to anyone, so you, the taxpayer, knows what's happening in your government.
Their idea of transparency is not what I am used to. I think the legislature or whoever gets to make up these rules needs to be involved. This does not ever have to happen again.
FOIA does vary some state to state, but some states are more forthcoming with information than others. For example, go to current projects on the South Carolina Department of Transportation's website. When you type in Hardscrabble Road, nothing comes up. Then if you look at SCDOT's programmed project viewer, it still says the anticipated contract completion date is 2022. You don't have to look far to see a different way of handling this information. The Virginia Department of Transportation has this on its website, an interactive dashboard that shows every project in the state. It shows if a project is over or under budget, ahead of schedule or behind schedule, down to the number of days.
Thanks to WIS and fine reporting, it is an issue that we think is necessary for us to address here in South Carolina.
Senator Darrell Jackson represents Richland County. He's also the chairman of the Senate Finance, Transportation, and Regulatory Budget Subcommittee. I recently called him about the online project dashboard.
But I do think this is a great idea. When I saw it and it was brought to my attention what Virginia had done, I said it was something that I think can work very well here.
Last week, Senator Jackson recommended a proviso to the subcommittee directing South Carolina Department of Transportation to create a user-friendly dashboard like the one in Virginia.
I think would be very transparent to our taxpayers.
I appreciate the proviso, and because it is a proviso, it would help encourage DOT to work with this committee to ensure that its work product is what we anticipate.
The subcommittee did adopt the proviso, which is the first step toward that potential dashboard actually happening. But that proviso still, of course, needs to get approved a few more times in the legislature to become a reality. I did ask SCDOT for an interview about this in my investigation. They declined, but you can read all of the documents found in this project and watch my full investigation on WISTV.com.
I feel like you haven't heard enough about what's happening.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, absolutely not. Like, I don't know anything about what's going on.
That's how many of you feel about the Hard Scrabble Road project, but that could change soon.
So tonight on WIS at 6, WIS getting results for you on a long-going issue that a lot of you deal with every single day, South Carolina's roads.
After our reporting on the Hard Scrabble Road project delays, lawmakers are now directing the South Carolina Department of Transportation to be more transparent.
Investigative reporter Cynthia Beasley shows us what you can now expect to see.
Well, Judy Hanna, the Hard Scrabble Road project is about 6 years delayed and about $20 million over budget. But you wouldn't know that just by checking the South Carolina Department of Transportation's website. Some lawmakers want to see that change. So they passed a temporary law with the budget ordering SCDOT to research how to make a new online dashboard so you can see how your tax dollars are being put to work. If you go on the South Carolina Department of Transportation website right now, you won't find any updated information on the Hard Scrabble Road project. WIS Investigates found you don't have to look far to see a different way of handling this information. In Virginia, their Department of Transportation shows how much a project is over or under budget and how many days it's behind.
Thanks to WIS and the fine reporting, it is an issue that we think is necessary for us to address here in South Carolina.
I showed Senator Darrell Jackson how Virginia puts out this information compared to South Carolina's lack of online information. He immediately introduced a temporary law to the state budget, ordering SCDOT to research how they can create an online user-friendly dashboard similar to Virginia's.
We went to DOT and says, don't tell us if you can do it. We're wanting you to tell us how you're going to do it. It was a different mandate because sometimes elected officials go and says, can this be done? The great example of what you guys did is that you showed in a state that it can be done.
The provision passed with what Senator Jackson says was bipartisan support.
It's not always the case, but I think people from both sides of the aisle says this is a great idea. DOT, let's get it done. If it costs, let us know, and we're willing to fund it.
So Senator Jackson says SCDOT has started getting data together, but you shouldn't expect to see a completed online dashboard by the end of this year. I asked SCDOT for an interview about this, but I have not heard back.
And Cynthia, are there any updates on the Hard Scrabble Road project? That was a great story as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. So they plan to finish that project in April 2025. That's still the same. But since our investigation aired a few months ago, they have opened several other parts of the road. That project, again, is supposed to be done in 2019. Despite those major delays, I found in that investigation SCDOT hadn't charged the contractor any fines or damages for being behind schedule. They say it's because the delays were out of the contractor's control. But that's something that Senator Jackson says he also wants to look deeper into with some sort of an audit or an investigation.